Okay, let's just jump right in. We're talking about a whole new battlefield here. Artificial intelligence is completely rewriting the rules of cybersecurity, and it's happening faster than anyone can really keep up. This isn't just about a few new tools, it's a fundamental shift in how we attack and how we defend our entire digital world.
And check this out. Here's the problem right off the bat. A whopping 73%. Yeah, you heard that right. 73% of security leaders are saying they just don't have the people with the right AI security skills. This isn't just a small skills gap, you know? It's a huge vulnerability for pretty much every company out there. I love how one seasoned architect put it. They said the distance between traditional security and AI security isn't just a gap, it's a canyon. And that really hits the nail on the head, right? It perfectly frames the challenge. The skills we've relied on for years, they're just not going to cut it anymore.
All right, so how do we even begin to build a bridge across that massive canyon? Well, the first step is to get a handle on the landscape. We got to look at how AI has become this powerful double-edged sword in the world of cybersecurity.
And this really lays out the arms race we're in. Just look at the two sides here. On one side, you've got the attacker's AI toolkit, which is all about deception and staying hidden. They're spinning up super convincing phishing emails by the thousands. And even scarier, they're creating polymorphic malware. That's malware that literally changes its own code to avoid getting caught. But for every move they make, there's a countermove. The defenders are using AI to spot threat patterns at speeds no human ever could, automating how they respond to incidents and finding those tiny, almost invisible signs of a breach that would otherwise go unnoticed.
So, you see this crazy fast evolution of threats and defenses, and you have to wonder, how does anyone possibly keep up? Well, the industry has come up with an answer. It's a kind of tactical blueprint, really, designed specifically to help us bridge that skills canyon we were talking about. It's a way to systematically build the exact skills we need to compete in this new world.
And this is it. This is the blueprint we're talking about, the CompTIA Sec AI Plus. It's actually the very first certification of its kind, built from the ground up to validate skills in securing AI. And see that expansion series label? That's super important. This isn't for beginners, it's for seasoned pros who are ready to level up and specialize in AI security.
Now, here's what makes this so valuable. It's totally vendor neutral. What that means for you is that the skills you learn aren't locked into one specific product. It doesn't matter if your company's all in on AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, or if you're using open source stuff like TensorFlow. The core principles apply everywhere, which makes your skills incredibly portable. And since it's all about those universal principles, it makes sense to start at the very beginning. So let's do that. Let's break down the absolute basics. Because at the end of the day, you can't secure something if you don't fundamentally understand how it works. So the blueprint kicks off right here. This is Domain 1. It's about 17% of the total knowledge base, and it's all about those core AI concepts that, frankly, every cyber pro needs to get a handle on now. Think of this as the foundation for everything else we're going to talk about. Okay. First up, machine learning, or ML. This is basically the engine that lets a system learn from data on its own. And for security, this is a game changer. It's how a tool can chew through millions of log files, figure out what normal activity looks like for your network, and then instantly spot something that's off, all without a person having to sit there and write thousands of if-then rules.
Then you have generative AI. This is the tech that powers tools you've probably used, like ChatGPT. The big difference here is that it doesn't just analyze stuff, it creates brand new content. We're talking text, images, even lines of code. And yeah, that's amazing for getting work done, but it's also an incredible tool for an attacker who wants to create a perfectly written phishing email or a sneaky piece of malware.
And that leads us to a really interesting and kind of scary attack method, adversarial machine learning. This is literally the art of tricking an AI. An attacker can make a tiny change to something, like tweaking a few pixels in a picture or one character in a file, something a person would never ever notice. But that tiny change is enough to make the AI model completely mess up, like flagging a dangerous ransomware file as totally safe. And look, these aren't just academic ideas. They are the actual building blocks for a whole new class of threats. You've got prompt injection, which is basically tricking a large language model into spilling secrets. You've got data poisoning, where you feed an AI bad data to corrupt it from the inside. These are the kinds of attacks that your traditional firewall or antivirus program, well, they just have no idea how to even begin to stop them.
Which brings us to this really powerful shift in thinking. Somebody said, the prompt is the new shell. And just let that sink in for a second. That simple little text box where you type a question into an AI, that's now the equivalent of a command line terminal. It's a direct line for an attacker to run commands, get around safety features, and manipulate the entire system.
Okay, so we've got the basic concepts in the threats they enable. So now what? Let's flip this around and talk about how we fight back. How does this blueprint take all that theory and turn it into practical, real-world defense? So, remember how we said those basic concepts were the foundation? Well, they are. But look at where this blueprint puts most of its focus. That huge slice of the pie, a full 40%, is all about the hands-on, practical skills for actually securing AI systems. So this is clearly not just about theory. It's heavily weighted towards what you can actually do.
Let's take one of those threats and really break it down. Prompt injection. Think of it like this. You're trying to trick the AI into breaking its own rules. An attacker writes a clever prompt that convinces the large language model to just ignore its safety programming. And then it can get it to do all sorts of things it shouldn't, like write malware or spit out sensitive company data it wasn't supposed to share.
And what's so great is that the blueprint gives you a layered defense for this exact problem. First, you set up what are called prompt firewalls. These are like a bouncer at a club door, checking every request before it even gets to the AI. Then you have model guardrails, which are like the AI's conscience, setting hard rules about what it can and can't do. And finally, you use rate limiting, which just stops an attacker from throwing thousands of automated attempts at the system, hoping one gets through.
And this all circles back to what is maybe the most important point of all. Getting a handle on this stuff, this blueprint, it's not just for the AI security specialist anymore. This knowledge is fast becoming a must-have for literally anyone who works in cybersecurity.
And if you need a number to back that up, here it is. By 2026, and that's not far away, it's expected that 90% of organizations will be using AI in some real way. So this isn't some far-off future trend. It's happening right now, which makes knowing this stuff totally essential.
So, the takeaway here is pretty simple. AI security isn't an optional elective anymore, it's a required course. What used to be a very niche skill is quickly turning into a baseline expectation. It's just got to be part of the toolkit for any serious cyber pro. And that leaves us with one final, pretty heavy question to think about. As the bad guys use AI to automate their attacks and operate at machine speed, can we really afford for our defenses to stay stuck at human scale? Seriously, the answer to that question is going to define the entire field of cybersecurity for the next 10 years.